그래도 수업에 앉아 마음을 다 잡아 I showed up with shaky hands but I showed up 누군가 한 시간만 더 라며 시간을 내어준 그 마음 The kindness warmed the whole room like a light 나는 속으로 조용히 적어 오늘의 증거를 A small proof written softly in my chest 미안합니다 용서하세요 Thank you I love you I let it flow 그 말이 내 안에서 주름을 펴주는 다림질 같아 It smooths my heart One breath at a time 오늘을 살아낸 증거는 거창한 게 아니야 The proof I live today is not a trophy in my hand 서로를 배려한 한마디 따뜻한 눈빛 하나 A gentle word, a softened glance That's how I stand 나는 아직 부족해도 여기까지 왔어 Even if I'm not enough I made it through the day 그냥 오늘을 살았어 그게 증거야 I live today That's proof enough to stay 타로를 나누는 시간 내 이야기가 거울이 되어 A story on a card and suddenly I see me 더 이상 미루지 말고 작은 것부터 Don't delay, start with the smallest step It whispers 이동하는 길이 빡빡해도 포기 대신 선택해 Even when time is tight I choose instead of quit 늦을 뻔한 순간에도 결국 도착한 나 I arrive breathless but real 괜찮아 오늘도 잘했어 It's okay you did your best 내가 나를 안아주는 연습을 해 I practice holding myself with kindness 오늘을 살아낸 증거는 거창한 게 아니야 The proof I live today is not a trophy in my hand 서로를 배려한 한마디 따뜻한 눈빛 하나 A gentle word, a softened glance That's how I stand 나는 아직 부족해도 여기까지 왔어 Even if I'm not enough I made it through the day 그냥 오늘을 살았어 그게 증거야 I live today That's proof enough to stay 한 달을 돌아보면 잘한 날도 아쉬운 날도 looking back some days were bright some days were great 그 모든 조각이 모여 지금의 나를 만들었지 But every piece became the me I am today 쓰리고 모인 저녁 한 끼 따뜻한 자리 A meeting, a meal, a seat that feels like home 이런 평범한 장면들이 내 삶을 증명해 Ordinary moments proof I'm not alone 미안합니다 용서하세요 고맙습니다 사랑합니다 I'm sorry Please forgive me Thank you I love you 오늘을 살아낸 증거는 내 마음이 꺾이지 않은 것 The proof I live today My heart didn't break in two 늦어도 다시 세팅하고 다시 시작한 것 I reset, I restart That's what I do 나는 아직 부족해도 서로 덕분에 버텼어 Still imperfect I endure because of you 그냥 오늘을 살았어 그게 증거야 I live today And that's my proof 그게 증거야 That's my proof
Morning leaned against my room with quiet light and careful air. I rose without a word to say and found my tired body there. No shining bell, no grand applause, no hand to tell me I was strong. Only a cup, a chair, a floor, only a day to carry on. Even one small breath counts, even one slow step stays. Life is not only made of fire, but of worn and faithful days. The heart that shakes and still goes on, the eyes that open after pain. Even one small breath counts, nothing endured is vain. By noon the sky was plain and pale, a silent cloth above the town. I held myself with both my hands and would not let my spirit drown. There were thoughts I could not name, there were tears that would not fall. Still I stayed inside the hour, still I answered to it all. Even one small breath counts, even one soft hope lives. The day may take more than I have, still I offer what I give. The hand that trembles on the door, the chest that rises through the blue. Even one small breath counts, it means I made it through. Now the night is at the glass, and all the noise is folded thin. I place this day beside my bed and let a little peace come in. One tender truth remains with me, and tonight I know it through. Even one small breath counts, and today I breathed it too. I walk through an ordinary day with quiet dust upon my feet. No banner followed where I went, only the sound of my own beat. I wore a softness through the cold, though some hours cut me like the rain. Still I would not trade my heart for something harder than the pain. The mark my heart left behind was never loud or bright. It was I bent but did not hide. The mark my heart left behind was love that lived inside. At noon the rooms were still in plain. A cup, a sink, a little light, and yet I felt my spirit leave a gentle trace in common sight. I mended what I could with care. A thought, a silence, one small thing. Not every wound was healed today, but still I heard my breathing sing. The mark my heart left behind was not for all to see. It lived in how I carried pain and kept some kindness free. The way I listened to the dark without becoming dark and kind. The mark my heart left behind still glows within my mind. Now evening gathers near the door and lays its blue upon the floor. I do not need a stone or name to know what I was living for. One quiet truth stays close tonight, and I can hold it without fear. The mark my heart left behind says I was truly here. Today left weight upon my hands, and twilight resting in my eyes. A little sorrow in my bones, a little courage in disguise. I moved through hours no one saw, and did the next small thing to do, with nothing grand to live the day, but one more breath to carry through. Today's trace that won't fade is not a golden line. It is the warmth still in my chest, proof these hours were mine. The tears I held, the words I kept, the step I made when strength was late. Today's trace that won't fade will quietly remain. The morning asked for more than ease. The afternoon asked more than grace. But still I gathered all my thoughts and wore them on my human face. There was no miracle at noon, no sudden song above the street, only a plain and patient light and my own shadow. Today's trace that won't fade is written in my skin. The way I breathe through heavy air first day. Today's trace that won't fade was made in this small day. Now darkness settles by the pane, and everything grows soft and slow. I sit beside the quiet room and feel one certain meaning grow. Though no one saw how far I came, I know the truth my pulse has made. Today's trace that won't fade will never be erased. The day came down like a quiet stone and pressed its weight into my chest. I tied my fear with careful hands and wore my silence like a vest. No easy road appeared for me, no shining answer lit the wall, but step by step, with trembling breath, I made it through. I did not fall. A day I finished without falling, sky I crossed without a flame. No one may know how hard it was, but I will softly say my name. The floor was cold, the hour was long, the dark was near, the light was small. A day I finished without falling, and that is everything at all. By noon my thoughts were thin as rain, my body asked to lay them down, but still I held the thread of time and walked beneath its heavy crown. I could have broken into dust, I could have given sorrow room. Instead I kept one window clear and let a little mercy bloom. A day I finished without falling, a quiet when no bell could tell. The heart can stand in fragile shoes and still come safely through the swell. No grand applause, no bright parade, just one more night, one answered call. A day I finished without falling, and that is enough, that is all. Now evening folds around the bed and cools the fever of the air. I touch this tired and faithful skin and thank it for still being there. The world may pass without a word, but I will hear the truth in me. A day I finished without falling, and that is victory. place inside this day where even tears pass quietly. No storm remained, no shattered glass, just something worn inhumanly. I carried ache from room to room, like folded cloth against my side. I did not speak it to the world, but still I let it breathe inside. Where even tears passed through, a softer truth remained. The heart is not a weaker thing for having once known pain. The eyes may fill, the hands may shake, the voice may lose its way. Where even tears pass through, I still remain today. The afternoon was pale and slow, a drifting light on table wood, and all the things I could not mend stood where they were, as sorrow would. But I was kinder than my fear. I let the hour come and go. I did not turn to stone within. I let my hidden river flow. Where even tears passed through, the ground did not give way. A soul can bend beneath the weight and still not drift away. The wound may leave a tender mark, the mark does not destroy. Where even tears pass through, there still survives some joy. Now night is leaning on the pane, and all the rooms grow deep and mild. I gather up this fragile day and hold it like a tired child. No shame remains in what I felt. No shadow takes away the truth. Where even tears pass through, I found a living proof. It was not loud, it was not grand. No thunder opened in the sky. Just one small moment in the day when I chose not to say goodbye. I chose to stay beside myself. I chose one breath instead of fear. I chose to keep a little light, and that small light remained right here. One choice that protected me, a quiet turning in the heart. Not every saving looks like fire. Sometimes it simply does not part. A hand pulled back from deeper dark. A soul that says be still, stay near. One choice that protected me and kept me with me here. The morning wore a tired face. The mirror did not offer grace. The hours felt narrow as a thread, and sorrow stood in every place. But somewhere underneath the weight, a wiser tenderness replied, do not abandon who you are. Do not leave your own side. One choice that protected me was small enough to go unseen, but roots are small and still they hold and keep the field alive and green. No crowd will sing of what I did, no bright reward may come to be. One choice that protected me was choosing not to leave me. Now evening settles in my bones, and all the air grows still and slow. I place my hand upon my chest and feel the living answer glow. Of all the things this day became, one truth is mine, and mine to keep. One choice that protected me was choosing one more step. My knees were full of weathered doubt. My knees were full of weathered doubt. My hands were colder than the rain. The road was narrow, blurred, and dim, but still I moved through all the strain. The morning did not promise much, no easy comfort, no bright sign, only a breath, a step, a will to keep this fragile life as mine. I kept walking, even shaking, with a shadow at my side, not because the fear was gone, but because I did not hide. The ground was hard, the wind was rough, the hour would not set me free. I kept walking, even shaking, and that was enough for me. By noon my thoughts were thin and worn, like paper held in restless air. I nearly let the silence win, I nearly fell into despair. But something small and faithful stayed, a quiet pulse beneath the ache. And though my spirit swayed with weight, it still refused to truly break. I kept walking, even shaking, through a day that would not bend. A trembling heart can still go on and find a way to reach the end. No shining song, no lifted hands, just one more step I chose to see. I kept walking, even shaking, and that step carried me. Now evening settles in the glass and cools the fever from the light. I touch the door, I touch my chest, and know I stayed with life tonight. The world may never see this road, but I will know what carried through. I kept walking, even shaking, and that is something true. wore a quiet face all day and walked beneath my hidden pain. The rooms were plain, the hours were long. The mirror gave no special sign, but somewhere in my steady chest a witness rose and answered mine. Even if no one knew I did, I knew the ground I crossed. I knew the cost of standing still, and what it meant not to be lost. The world may pass with silent eyes and never ask what I went through. Even if no one knew I did, and that will have to do. By afternoon the light grew pale and pressed against the window frame. I almost laid my burden down. I almost let go of my name. But then I felt a softer truth, a low and faithful inner flame. It did not ask to be admired, it only asked that I remain. Even if no one knew I did, I knew how hard I tried. I knew the tears I would not show. I knew the fear I set aside. No praise arrived, no comfort call, no crowd appeared to pull me through. Even if no one knew I did, I know what I lived through. Now night has gathered every sound and left the room in tender blue. I sit beside this breathing dark and feel one honest thing ring true. A life is still a life unseen. A heart is still a heart held fast. Even if no one knew I did, and that knowing lasts. The day was built of heavy hours and little weights I could not name. I laced my shoes with tired hands and went on walking just the same. No trumpet called me to be brave, no open sky removed my doubt. Only a path beneath my feet and one more breath to lead me out. The steps I didn't stop were small but they were real. A trembling body still can move, a wounded heart still can heal. The road was plain, the light was thin, the dark kept close, the air was rough. The steps I didn't stop became my quiet enough. By noon the silence deepened down and all my thoughts turned hard to hold. I nearly turned my face away, I nearly let the day go cold. But something in me stayed awake, a thread too gentle to command. And step by step it drew me on like warmth returning to my hands. The steps I didn't stop breeze, it's blue across the floor. I stand inside this finished day, a little worn, but something more. For every step that did not end has left its answer here in me. The steps I didn't stop brought me where I should be. The morning found me where I was, with tattered hands and open eyes. No shining answer filled the room, only a pale and faithful light. I stood beneath an ordinary sky and wore the weight I could not name. Yet something in my quiet chest still asked my feet to stay the same. I was here today, through the long and tender strain, not as a shadow passing by, but as a heart that carried pain. No one may know the road I crossed, no one may see the tears I hid. I was here today, and I know what I did. By noon the silence gathered near and settled softly on the chair. I held myself with careful grace and kept on breathing through the air. The hours were plain, the floor was cold, the mirror gave no gentle praise. But still I moved, and still I stayed inside the weight of human days. I was here today, in the ache and in the grace, in every small unfinished task, in every step I chose to face. A life need not be loud to last, a soul need not be seen to stay. I was here today, and that is enough to say. Now evening leans upon the glass and leaves the room in quiet blue. I touch this tired and living skin and feel one simple truth come through. I was here today, and today was here in me. I did not carry fire today, no blazing word, no lifted sign, only a few unshaken breaths and this small borrowed heart of mine. The morning asked for steadiness, the afternoon asked me for more. So I laid one trembling choice beside another at the door. Pieces of quiet courage scattered through the day, a hand that did not let go, a soul that chose to stay. No trumpet sang above my head, no bright reward appeared to me. Pieces of quiet courage were all I had to be. answered what I could with care. A cup of cola, a little light. I kept one corner of my heart from turning cold against the night. There were thoughts that pressed like rain. There were hours thin and slow. Still I held my breaking parts with more kindness than they know. Pieces of quiet courage lived in common things, in how I stood when I was weak, in what a soft will brings. The world may never count these ways, the world may never fully see. Pieces of quiet courage still gathered into me. Now the dark is at the pane, and all the noise has fallen through. I bless the small and unseen strength that walk beside me, calm and true. Pieces of quiet courage are enough to carry through. It was a small and quiet thing, no shining in, no grand display, only a task before my hands that asked my heart and asked me stay. The morning pressed against my back, the hours moved with heavy feet, but still I kept that little thread and would not lay it in defeat. A small thing I saw through on an ordinary day. No one may know how much it asked, or how I chose to stay. A weary hand can still hold on, a tired soul can still be true. A small thing I saw through, and that small thing pulled me through. By noon the room was pale and still, my thoughts were thin, my body worn. I nearly left it where it stood, like cloth unfinished, gently torn. But something quiet in my chest kept one more breath alive in me. So I returned with patient hands and stayed until the end could be. A small thing I saw through, no bright and fearless heart, just one more step, then one more step, with all my careful heart. The world may pass and never know the strength it took to see it through. A small thing I saw through was proof that I came through. Now evening settles at the pane and lays its blue across the floor. I place this finished fragment down and ask of it a little more, to tell me I was here today, to tell me I was faithful too. A small thing I saw through, and tonight I know it true. My body, you were there today. Before my words, before my will, you held the weight of all my hours and kept me standing, trembling still. Your shoulders knew the silent rain, your hands knew what the heart could not. Yet step by step, breath after breath, you stayed with me and left me not. To my body that endured today, I send a quiet kind of grace for all the pain you carried through, for all the strain held in one place. No shining song, no lifted praise could tell the truth the way I do. To my body that endured today, I owe this night to you. By noon you moved through heavy air, with tired bones and patient skin. You did not ask for easy light, you only asked to make it in. And when my mind grew thin with doubt, you kept the rhythm soft and deep, a living drum beneath the dark, a vow that would not fall asleep. To my body that endured today, I speak with gentler hands. You bore the ache, you bore the pull, you crossed what words don't understand. The world may never see the cost of simply making one day through. To my body that endured today, I bring my thanks to you. Now evening cools the window glass, and all the room grows soft and slow. I place my hand upon my chest and feel the living answer glow. To my body that endured today, you brought me home in truth. The day was not a gentle one, it leaned its weight on every hour. The light was thin, the road was long, and still I kept a little power. No grand reward stood at the end, no sudden gold broke through the gray, only this plain and human truth, that I remained inside the day. One fact, I made it through, that is enough tonight. Not every life must blaze with fire to prove it held its light. A quiet heart can cross the dark, a tired soul can still be true. One fact, I made it through, and that one fact will do. By noon my thoughts were worn and pale, the room was full of silence. speak more plainly than this truth. One fact, I made it through, and I am living proof. Now night has come with softer air and laid its blue upon the floor. I sit beside this finished day, a little worn, a little more.